Hello there, welcome to Granada Reports. We're live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello there, on the programme this evening.
The search for Moore's murder victim Keith Bennett goes on. Police were digging part of Saddleworth Moor after reports that human remains had been found. But today, this.
The excavation and examination at the site is complete, and we have found no evidence that this is the burial location of Keith Bennett.
The ugly side of the beautiful game. Junior football referee Dave was subjected to a violent assault. He's warning a match official could be killed unless action's taken.
Making their minds up, Liverpool finds out in just an hour whether it's won the battle to host next year's Eurovision.
Friends United. Fundraising pals Freddie and Hughie have written a book together, and they've dropped by to tell us all about it.
And in the weather, a little birdie told me and him, it seems, that it's going to be a fine start to the weekend. All the details coming up.
First, though, this time last week, there was a real sense of optimism that the 58-year search for the body of schoolboy Keith Bennett could be about to end.
Police were digging at a site on Saddleworth Moor for the remains of 12-year-old Keith, who was abducted and killed by the Moors murderers Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. The police were following up on information provided by an author called Russell Edwards and an archaeological team who thought they may have found the site where Keith's body was buried.
But in the last few hours, bitter disappointment, with Greater Manchester Police saying there was no evidence of human remains being found.
Our correspondent Rob Smith joins us from Force Headquarters now. Rob, pretty devastating news from GMP tonight.
Yes, sadly, the family of Keith Bennett are no closer tonight to being able to lay him to rest properly, because this was not the place, this was not the spot where his body was left by the Moors murderers. Police have been digging on Saddleworth for the best part of a week, and digging there after a crime author who'd researched the Moors murders for years went up, dug down himself and found what he believed were human remains. He asked some experts to look at that. They agreed. He took samples, he took photographs, presented those to detectives, and their response was to send up a team of specialist officers, forensic archaeologists, and to dig what's been described as a substantial trench, and not just in the spot that he pointed them to, but going a metre in all directions out beyond it and down several feet. The idea to make sure that they didn't miss anything at all, and all of that material, all of that soil that was taken out was searched through meticulously by hand. And they said today they found no bones, no scraps of clothing, no trace at all of Keith.
Keith's family is central to any action we take in relation to this case, and the thoughts of everyone involved are with Keith's family. Dedicated officers remain in regular liaison with them to ensure they are updated on any progress made. We have always said that we would respond in a timely and appropriate manner to any credible information which may lead us towards finding Keith.
The excavation and examination at the site is complete, and we have found no evidence that this is the burial location of Keith Bennett. To reiterate, forensic analysis is ongoing, but at this stage there is no scientific evidence to support the suggestion that human remains are present.
Now, the question is, what was in those samples at that point? And police say that they have had those analysed, and for the most part they believe they are of plant origin, material that had been decaying on the moors potentially for years and years and years. There is still one sample that requires further analysis, but as it stands tonight, they say they have found no trace of anything that could be described as of human origin.
OK, Rob. Greater Manchester Police took this latest lead in the Keith Bennett case very seriously, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They said that this was credible information. In their words, it had a scientific basis. That's why they responded as they did. I spoke to the author himself live on air this time last week. He was convinced, absolutely convinced, that he had found where Keith had been left, that he was able to get those answers to finally do something with this mystery, this painful, awful mystery that has lasted all of these years. The police, the bottom line is, they took that seriously. For Keith's family, well, you don't really have to imagine hard, do you, to imagine the heartache that they've been through over the past few days. One of his surviving relatives saying on social media that they have gone through pain, distress and anguish.
OK, Rob Smith in Manchester for us this evening. Thank you.
Next, one of the uglier sides of the beautiful game, and a warning from a junior football referee that it's only a matter of time before a match official is killed.
It comes from Dave Bradshaw, a highly experienced referee who was seriously injured after sending a player off during a match in Wigan.
Dave says bad behaviour in professional football sets a poor example to young players. He says the Football Association and even the government need to step in. He
spoke to our reporter Claire Hannah.
I felt a big thud to my face, I don't know if it was a punch or whatever. Then I woke up on the floor and apparently was unconscious for 2 minutes. There's a lump there, and they said that lump there will be the rest of my life. Even if they operate, it'll stay there. I've got some cracked ribs as well, concussion due to the blow to the face, and very, very bad whiplash.
Dave Bradshaw's been a referee in the amateur leagues for more than 20 years, but this is the first time he's been physically attacked, and it happened after he gave a player a red card.
This is just the tip of the edge, because this is happening to referee abuse all over the country, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but sooner or later I hope a referee doesn't get murdered because of what goes on football pitches.
Dave says there's increasing anger and aggression at football matches at all levels. He says fuelled by what people are seeing on the TV.
A lot of it doesn't sell because you've got your Premier League downwards, you've got your pundits and all that, and they're picking up every single little decision of referees and being scrutinised and all that. And a coach can make a bad decision, a player can make a bad decision, a referee can make one mistake and he's the worst referee that's ever walked the planet.
He's now calling for the FA to step in and make real changes when it comes to the way officials are treated. And that is a feeling echoed by a Football League Secretary, Warren Barlow.
My experience of the FA, and I've been involved in grassroots football leagues for over 20 years, my experience is that they're very fine-driven. Their focus is on fining people and getting income in, and they believe that that will make a difference. Well, it doesn't. They've been fining people for over 150 years throughout the history of the FA, and it's not made one iota of difference.
You get referee abuse in the Premier League and that, and the Championship and League One, they fine them. But yeah, that, there should be punch deductions.
And Dave feels football could also learn a thing or two from other sports.
Would you like to see that brought in like they do in rugby union, where only the captain is allowed to speak to the referee?
But this is supposed to be the same in football, it's supposed to be the same, but it's not implemented. You can see 5 or 6 of them around there. Everybody's supposed to go through the captain.
A police investigation is underway, which has seen a 24-year-old man arrested and bailed. Dave is hoping, though, what's happened will increase pressure on the FA to offer more protection to match officials.
They now need to listen to referees and take things on board. Don't sweep it under the carpet out of the way. Without grassroots football, the Premier League won't survive any division.
Claire Hannah, ITV News, Wigan.
In other news this evening, a man has died and another has been injured by a falling tree in South Manchester. Emergency services were called to Osborne Terrace in Sale yesterday afternoon. A 26-year-old man died of his injuries at the scene. Police are appealing for doorbell footage that could help in their investigation.
The Home Office has apologised to the families of Hillsborough victims after failing to tell them about a review into original pathology findings. The aim of the review is to look at what went wrong and to make sure similar mistakes aren't made again. 97 Liverpool fans died as a result of the tragedy at the FA Cup semi-final in 1989. The government says they will engage with families during the process.
The government has given Avanti West Coast 6 months to improve services on their routes between the north and London. Our region's politicians are demanding more trains run between the northwest and the capital. The government decision follows Avanti's announcement of drastically reduced timetables, which they blamed on a shortage of drivers. Avanti said more drivers were now being recruited.
Now, in the words of the Bucks Fizz Eurovision hit, tonight the song contest organisers will be making their minds up about next year's venue.
Yes, Liverpool has been shortlisted along with the Scottish city of Glasgow. They're in the running because this year's Eurovision winner, Ukraine, can't stage the spectacular competition.
Liverpool reckons it's got a great chance with its brilliant music heritage and unrivalled ability to stage a huge party.
And our correspondent Victoria Grimes is there for us tonight. So, Vicky, any early indications?
Oh, Andy Bonner, I am beyond excited tonight. Beyond excited tonight about Eurovision. Let's just hope and pray that we do get this absolute honour ahead of Glasgow. Nobody is more excited tonight than Paul here, who works at the British Music Experience, where we are now, in the Gibson Guitar Gallery. Why do you think Liverpool should get it?
You talk to anybody around Europe, around the world, talk to them about Liverpool, what do they think of? They think of music. This is the ideal place for Eurovision. Liverpool people know how to party, they know how to put on a great show. They'll do the United Kingdom and they'll do Ukraine proud.
And I tell you what, you have got some fantastic pieces in here relating to Eurovision. Tell us about that.
We've got, we mentioned Lulu in our 60s cabinet there. We've also got a dress worn by Sandy Shaw in the 60s. Sandy Shaw was, of course, the first
Puppet on a String?
UK act.
On a string? Well, you know what? We've got someone over here that can play Puppet on a String. Thank you very much indeed, Paul. It is the one, the only, Mr. Gary Christian.
Hiya.
Come on then, give us a bit, Gary.
Not a Puppet on a String. I haven't got the chords.
Harvest for the World?
Harvest for the World. I can't remember. No, that's...
Oh, he's forgotten it. You can't have forgotten it.
Right, no one, sorry.
Gary, tell us why you think Liverpool is the right place for Eurovision.
Well, you know, let's be honest with everybody. Liverpool is... It's a music city. It's got to be in Liverpool. It just doesn't make sense for it to be anywhere else, really, if we're going to hold it in the UK. I love Glasgow, don't get me wrong. It's a great city, but come on, let's be real. Yes. This is the city to hold such a great event, you know.
This is the city, and so hopefully tonight we will get a positive decision. So it's going to be announced very, very shortly. It's still between Liverpool and Glasgow. Somebody here who wants to see it. We've had Paul, we've had Gary Christian, the one and only.
It's got to be.
And are you going to play us out with what we hope we'll all be singing?
I've got an idea here, actually.
Are we having a bit of Cliff?
Congratulations and celebrations. We want the world to know how happy I can be. Congratulations.
Thanks, Gary. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Gary and Vicky, and your other guests. Thanks very much for that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Fingers crossed.
Good job you couldn't hear us singing in the studio there, definitely. You're watching Granada Reports. Lots to come on the programme. Still ahead tonight.
Countdown to the Women's Rugby World Cup. We meet the Northwest star playing for the USA, who'll be lining up against the favourites, England.
And in the weather, it's hard to believe that after this today and this today, we might end up looking like this tomorrow. High pressure kicking in for the start of the weekend. All the details coming up shortly.
And here's what's still to come on the ITV News at 6:30 with Charlene.
Coming up, why the government won't be telling people to use less energy despite the risk of blackouts. It says hospitals and essential services would be protected if power was cut this winter, a scenario it says is unlikely. Also ahead, police say there's no evidence of human remains on Saddleworth Moor as they end their search for Moor's victim, Keith Bennett. And preparing to take on the world, England, Scotland and Wales ready themselves for the opening weekend of the Women's Rugby World Cup. Join us at 6:30.
Thank you, Charlene. Now time for sport, and it's happening on the other side of the world, but excitement is building here too for the Women's Rugby Union World Cup. Here's David with all the details. David.
Yeah, absolutely. England are favourites to win a World Cup, and this is not this is weird. This is so bizarre. It's not a position that most England supporters are used to. But when it comes to Women's Rugby Union, we dominate. The Red Roses are on a record run of 25 Test matches unbeaten, and they're looking to keep that run going in New Zealand to become world champions for a third time. But as Chris Hall reports, it's not just England who fans in the Northwest will be cheering on.
The The race to rugby summit is about to begin down under. New Zealand's famous Eden Park will be a 40,000 strong sellout as England face Fiji tomorrow. But Sale fans may have split loyalties, with players in the Scotland, Italy and USA camps.
Super excited, but again, it doesn't feel real. I think when people say, oh, going to a World Cup, I'm like, am I? It's overwhelming. I'm going in with some of the best players in the world, and they're a good group of girls and they've been building for a long time. So I really truly believe that USA can be at the top of this world table. So yeah, we'll see.
Born in Detroit but raised in Cheshire, Georgie will have her Sale fans and teammates cheering from home.
I think it's brilliant for the club, it's brilliant exposure, but also for the players themselves in terms of their development. There's some really high quality players there, and I'd like to think of the last few years Sharks have played a role in their development as well. So I think it's brilliant for the club, and I think everyone's just really excited to see it get going and to watch some great rugby.
It's also a chance to enhance a reputation that's rapidly growing. Here at Sandbach Rugby Club, the men train alongside and against Sale's women. Sharks coach Rachel Taylor played in 3 World Cups for Wales. She can see the respect for women's rugby is soaring.
If I compare it to 2010, which is the World Cup that was in England, in Guildford, Surrey Sports Park, it's just grown, tournament on tournament. So I think this will be really exciting. Plus, knowing that England will host the next one again and the growth of the game in the next couple of years will be phenomenal.
I think when you look at the success of what football's had in the Lionesses of bringing it home, England women stand a really good chance of bringing it home as well. And I think from a grassroots level, for a Sale Sharks perspective, we'd want them to win, because we want more little girls watching that, and then going to grassroots game and wanting to be part of that.
Having won their last 25 test matches, England will be heavy favourites to lift the trophy they last won in 2014. At the biggest World Cup ever, the Red Roses are ready to bloom. Chris Hall, ITV News.
And you can watch all of the Women's World Cup live on ITV. England's opening game with Fiji is tomorrow at 4:45 in the morning, so set those alarms. And ITV is the home of top-class women's sport this weekend. Tonight we've got the Lionesses taking on the USA in the football as the European champions face the world champions at a sellout Wembley. Coverage starts in just over an hour. But there's an all-Northwest clash this weekend in tonight's basketball. Manchester Giants take on Cheshire Phoenix in the BBL. Both sides made good starts to the season, and tip-off, as they call it, kick-off, is at 7:45.
Brilliant.
Slightly more respectable than the women's rugby.
Get those alarms set, yeah.
Absolutely.
Quite early in the morning.
Good luck to all our competitors in the women's rugby, though.
Thanks, Dave.
Finally, it was the Beatles who wrote the immortal line, "I get by with a little help from my friends." And that line could have been written for the 2 friends we're meeting next.
Yeah, if they'd have lived in the 60s, of course. Anyway, we're talking about 2 best mates from Lancashire who've got an incredible bond.
This is Hughie and Freddie. Hughie's on the left, and aged only 9, he was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia and started treatment at the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital.
So Freddie decided to start fundraising for the hospital to say thank you to the doctors and nurses who were working to save his pal's life. Between them, they have raised more than £250,000 and won a Pride of Britain award as well. And it doesn't stop there. They've now written a book as well. It's called Friends Are Amazing, and the boys were in the studio earlier to tell me all about it.
So basically the book's about how you can be an amazing friend and why it's important to be a friend for somebody else.
Yeah, which obviously you know all about, both of you. Did you literally sit down together and work out what was going to be in it? And
yeah, so when we were together, we'd just jot some ideas down. Yeah, it was over a couple of months. When we went for breakfast, we'd put a couple of that ideas down.
And it's obviously very much based on your relationship as much as anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How close are you?
Close.
You best friends?
Yeah.
Definitely best friends. I know best friends fall out from time to time. You must fall out. You're not telling me you never fall out?
Not really, no.
Really?
No, we have pillow fights, but that's just for fun. They're fun ones.
That's brilliant. I love it. And of course, it's a really colourful book. There's a really sort of strong, important message in it. These characters are great. And we want to mention Liam here, who's represented by the guy in the glasses. Tell me about Liam.
So Liam was one of my best friends when I was in hospital. We were in a bay together. He was having a really tough time, and then a few months ago we found out the news that he'd passed away. So it was just before the last copy of the book was being printed, so we asked if we could get a character who looked like Liam in it, and I was so glad we got to tell him about 2 weeks before he died that he was going to be in the book.
So he knew about it. It's a lovely tribute. It's really nice, and obviously everyone who reads the book now will get to see him. Everyone's going to know you, I think, possibly because of Pride of Britain last year. What was that like? Just take us back.
Just crazy. The whole weekend, the experience, everything about the whole weekend was incredible, wasn't it?
Remind us what you've done. Tell me about your fundraising.
So when I heard Huey got diagnosed with leukemia, just wanted to help him out and take his mind off the treatment. So I ran 2 kilometres a day for 50 days, and my final run was on Christmas Day morning, and we raised $250,000.
Which is incredible. Huey, what did that mean to you?
It was just so good to know that Freddie was by my side, and that I had a friend like Freddie, and this book is just a thanks to all the friends in the world, all the best friends who and there's a little thing in the front, all the friends who make every day special.
You're still going through treatment. How are you doing at the moment?
I'm doing really well. So it was a few weeks ago when I passed 2 years of my treatment. So I've got about 18 months left, but it's a lot easier than it was at the start, because there's 32 weeks of just so hard stuff.
And how is your friendship now after all of this?
Still going strong, and that'll be forever. Be forever.
Brilliant. They really, really are the best of friends. And we should say that 25p from each copy of Huey and Freddie's book will go to the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital charity. And believe it or not, they're still raising money by running around, get this, 100 English football grounds together.
They're very lucky to have each other, aren't they?
Aren't they just? Yeah.
Huey's doing so brilliantly well. Well done to both of you. 2 lads making a real difference, and we wish them all the very best of luck. Now, it's time for the weather with Emma.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, I hope you had a good day today. We had quite a wet and windy one this afternoon. Hard to believe we started off like this, but soon went to this with gusts of 45, 50 miles an hour at the coast and across the Isle of Man there. But those blustery winds should ease down during the second part of tonight, and we are expecting high pressure to kick in for tomorrow as well. Also tonight, Draconid's meteors continue. I think there's more chance tonight of seeing them than last night, and a better chance tomorrow night than there will be tonight, really. There'll be more in the way of clear spells with that high pressure kicking in tomorrow. However, we do have a full moon, and so that could cause a little bit of light pollution and may hamper viewing opportunities. As we move into the next few hours, we see a few showers continuing. Still gusts around 35 miles an hour in those showers, but during the second half of the night, the wind's calming down and slightly cooler compared to last night in terms of temperatures. A bit chilly out in the countryside. Here are your sunrise and sunset times for tomorrow. Sun's up at 7:25 and sets at 6:31. A few showers continue first thing in the morning, but they quickly fade, and we see some good spells of sunshine. It's going to be a calmer day than today, a brighter, sunnier day than today. All in all, a good start to the weekend with around average temperatures, and staying cloudy for much of the day on Sunday. However, wind and rain coming in later on Sunday night, and could be up to gale force gusts around the coast. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Yeah, the weather's just all over the place at the moment. Thanks very much for that, Emma. That is all from us for now, but as always, there is more on our website at itv.com/Granada.
Fingers crossed for Liverpool in the Eurovision.
Yes.
I'll be back with the late news after news at 10. I'll bring you what I hope is the good news. But until then, have a great evening.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.